Hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Good. So, everybody, I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and this is my interview with, I'm going to say Monroe Singh because I'm actually from Monroe, Louisiana, or is it Monroe?
It's Monroe.
Okay. And he is the creator of the Voodoo Tarot, and it's a Caribbean Latino art that he's going to put in your hands. It's a Kickstarter deck, and right now it is almost halfway funded. So this is going to go. It's still got 3 weeks to go. It's going to get funded. So y'all need to get in and get on this. Because when you do a Kickstarter deck, you have goodies. They put out extra stuff. And one of the things Monroe is doing is let me get this closed down. I've got my computer open in the background. But he's doing vector art. So when you saw that very first image of him where he looked kind of like a cartoon almost, he created that. So how are you doing today? Tell us who you are.
Hi, I'm Monroe. How- I'm not really a morning person, so I'm, and I don't drink coffee, which is a bad idea right now. So, but yeah, I've been pretty much all night. Continue doing editing, following the campaign, doing advertising, emails.
It's a
Twitter,
lot.
Instagram. Yeah.
So why tarot? What called you to make a tarot deck?
I It was actually because I bought so many different decks, and I've used the Thoth Tarot a lot. Some of the Vision Quest Tarot, a
Love it.
couple of other more niche market tarot decks. But my very first deck was the Dragon Tarot, and that was when I was, I think, 11. So it was my first starter deck. Doesn't have a lot to go by in terms of imagery. It's just dragons, all types of dragons, and it's kind of hard to decipher for a beginner. So I kind of started off from that deck, went to more classic decks. I remember when I was reading on a psychic showcase, I had the Renaissance Tarot, which was another kind of whimsical change from what I was used to.
Yeah.
So I like to kind of change it up in terms of which decks I want to use. With reading to kind of challenge myself, where some have keywords, some do not, some have vivid imagery or it's packed with imagery, and some just have very simple layouts and you just kind of have to read intuitively. I'm more of an intuitive reader,
Yeah.
so I was looking for a tarot that I could kind of work with, kind of the traditions that I'm in, which is mostly Afro diasporic traditions or Afro-Caribbean traditions, and I just wanted to create something that was a lot easier for me to read with. One, I kind of saw there's kind of a need for more of those types of decks out there,
Yeah.
and also it was kind of, I don't know where I knew this year I wanted to do a deck, and I had threw out a bunch of ideas, and I remember I started around May and of this year, and I just didn't know how I was going to do it. I just had this idea, I just started, setting up, you know, um, drawings, illustrations, doing it in Photoshop, Illustrator. I mean, I was talking to people in Theosophy groups and tarot professionals, and I was just kind of putting ideas out there once I had the characters drawn. I didn't know if I had enough characters for a whole deck, to be honest. And I mean, through more, whether you're into the tradition or not, there's always so much more you can learn. And
Yes.
so I had to do a lot of research. I read in, English, Spanish, French, all these different books I could find, and I'm finding all these different spirits. Some aren't as well known, and I kind of wanted to bring them more out in a creative way. It took some of the more, I guess, scarier type of things about voodoo and kind of make it in a more easier to digest way, where it's just like, oh, this is all bad and this is dark, and the deck's not dark at all. I mean, there's a couple characters that you're like, oh, that looks like a demon kind of, but it's not. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they have different spirits wear different faces, just like people do. So there's a good side and a bad side, and some people focus on one more than another. And I also looked at ceremonial Haitian voodoo flags. It was probably my biggest, called Dropos. That was my biggest inspiration. And also, I used to do beadwork. So I've done African style and also Native American style beadwork. So if you look at the background, it kind of has a sequin bead kind of pattern, but it's also reminiscent of a snakeskin. So that's something I had no idea I was doing. I knew I was going to use Vevas in one way or another, and I couldn't figure out what I was going to do for the background because I had all the characters. I had some of the elements of the tarot in the characters, and I also had their kind of elements based on, their favorite colors, what are they associated with, their story. And then once I got to the background, I'm like, okay, I can't just put a character on a blank card. This is not going to work. So, I mean, I honestly, I dreamt about it. I dreamt about it one night. I was dreaming of, like, the sequin kind of snakeskin thing. And I was like, okay, that's cool. How in the world am I going to get this, graphically? So I kind of, literally combine all these different elements and came up with this pattern that kind of was, I wanted it not super shimmery like sequins, but more kind of contrast and has a gradient and it goes in and out. And I also wanted to change the color based on whether it was a major arcana or each suit to kind of help the person along with the understanding of the tarot, because I knew I was like, okay, I'm going to give a deck to this person who doesn't know what voodoo is. They may not know what tarot is, but at least color-wise, characteristic-wise, they can kind of follow it. So all the swords have this dark bluish background, and it's an airy suit. Their swords, all the characters have not just so much swords, because a lot of the characters have machetes or swords, but I put more of a warrior aspect, so all the characters in the swords have armor. And even if they don't have a sword, they still have this armor aspect to it.
Yeah.
With the pinnacles, I changed that to skulls because I wanted that to be more dealing with the spirits that deal with the dead, more from a metaphysical level in terms of when you think of pinnacles, you think prosperity, money, but a lot of the spirits in the Gede group, they are not just dealing with the dead, but they deal with healing and kind of living life up. They dance, they are provocative, they eat a lot, they do a lot of, things that make you kind of appreciate material life.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought Pinnacles is really about. It's about enjoying life and from a very earthy perspective. You can't get any more earthy than a skull.
And I like when people play with the suits and kind of come up with their different interpretations of it. Now, let me ask you this. Who or what is your creative muse? When you go into your creative, you have a particular muse, how does that work for you? Some people do, some don't. So I like to ask that.
I think every spirit in the deck I've had some type of experience with, either before or after I created it, because I've had different dreams where I'm writing, doing something, and I got not a great response, and I kind of flipped it around or altered it, changed it, or I changed the background or put it in a different suit. And, a lot of times I had to, I thought I was finished, and then I had to take a step back and redo it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I took some people in the group's credits, and they're like, well, is this an oracle deck? Is it a tarot deck? And I thought, I've about 6 different Oracle decks. This is not an Oracle deck.
No.
I mean, some of them have very, stringent meanings in terms of their stories and kind of placements within the tarot archetype. So I kind of played more with archetypes, and because I think I was influenced a lot by, even though it's a Rider-Waite setup, I was influenced by the Thoth Tarot because I've been using it so long in terms of the kind of the keyword archetypes. When I think of in my mind, the pages are all female. Just playing with gender with the major arcana. And that's one thing when I created everything. I made sure that it was pretty balanced in terms of gender, because I don't usually see that a lot of tarot. I mean, I have a tarot deck that I think it's like the Mythical Goddess Tarot, where it's multicultural, but it's all female. But it's all, for me, it's hard to read because it's all female. So
yeah, and I like a balance. I like in the Gaian Tarot, which is my primary reading deck, all the chords. There's 2 male and 2 female. 2, I can count. 2. And I need that. I need that balance. Because I come from, I have friends who identify as genderqueer, who identify as transgender, who identify as intersex. I have a whole group of friends out there. So when I read for them with tarot decks, I want a tarot deck that's going to kind of give them more of themselves. It's important to me. Well, now let's look and let's talk about your most recent project. Do you have some images to show people? Do you have anything that we can share with them and give them peeks about what they're going to be getting?
Print-wise, they're still at the printer, and I'm probably getting them this week, and I'll update it with an update on Kickstarter. I've gotten a couple comments, even this morning, where they want me to do a whole price list in terms of everything. So, I mean, I have to do that graphically today. I make sure I listen to what my backers are kind of conveying, or other people who are not even backers yet, just to help them out with the layout, because it's a lot. I mean, there's the main deck, and then there's a second deck, and some people are, especially if they're coming from an ATR part, they're like, oh, I'm looking for this, and I'm looking for this, and I'm looking for, a proper request. I'm looking for Oshun, and I'm looking for this spirit from Santeria, or this spirit from Conjure, and they're like, I see some pagan stuff here, and I'm like, that's all in the expansion deck. That was kind of my experimentation in terms of my creative process. And also I kind of have when we talk about like a spiritual quadro, it's kind of like a chord, it doesn't sound right in English, but it's kind of like a spiritual framework where I have different spirits from different cultures. And it was kind of like when I finished the whole voodoo deck, I had some other ones that were not so happy because they were kind of left out. And so I had to kind of pay homage to the different spirits that I work with.
They get a little noisy, don't they?
And other traditions.
Yeah, and I shared your deck with a friend of mine who is, she writes romance, urban fantasy. Her name's Cerisia Glass. You actually commented on it because she had linked it out there. She's an Egyptian pantheon. Does a lot of the books that she writes. So she's got a kick-ass heroine, man. She is, and she's African American, the heroine. So it's a multicultural book that I adore her writing. She's a great writer. But I'm going to give people the link so they can go see your images, because y'all. Look here. This is
actually one of the prints that I did kind of early on.
And who is she?
It's Clemenzine, and she's a Wawad that's affiliated with water, but she kind of walks behind Urzuli Freda. So she's one of the kind of lesser known ones, but she's kind of in the escort of Urzuli Freda, and with the star, I wanted the water, and then when I thought about the star card afterwards, I was like, this is the perfect one for that. I didn't really, sometimes I went back and forth where I thought about the tarot card and then I kind of made the character a little bit associated with that, and then sometimes it happened spontaneously, and then sometimes I did the character, and then it just happened. Like for Legba, I'm gonna say I did the drawing. I had the two little dogs. He's holding his cane, and I was like, "Oh, this looks exactly like the full card. It just has an extra dog." It would just happen that way. One question I had about the Hangman. The Hangman has a spirit named Sentinel, and they're Sentinels. It's actually more of a group, more than just one spirit. But in possession, he tends to have his hands kind of behind his back, and sometimes it's tied. But so when I did that, I kind of have him tied to a tree, but he also has a machete behind his back, so he's not hanging. He's more kind of standing. He's stuck in position, but he still has the sword in the back ready for action. So it shows that there's kind of the introspection that the Hangman is known for. And where it's kind of you're waiting, and for action, but it's just not happening right now. And even with the Veve background, I have it. It's kind of a plant of a tree man, but it's upside down. So if you look closely, it still has that flipped hangman aspect from the back.
Yeah.
What was the next question?
I was going to say, what is the most challenging thing about the work you do now? I mean, I'm hearing part of it's being tapped on the shoulder and saying, what about me? And also, I think all the advertising, all the putting yourself out there, because as an artist, there's so much introspection and so much, hermit kind of things. And we're asking you to be the sun and the chariot and put yourself out there.
I used to be an exhibit artist, mostly in more 3D art, so ceramic, sculpture. I did do photography, but that was in between 2008 and 2010. So it's been about 5 years since I've been to put myself out there as an artist. I did corporate development for a while, and I also have a marketing background, but I'm usually used to doing it for other clients, not myself. So it's a big change. And it's also, you have to take a step back when you're an artist. It's like, don't take things too personal. Everyone's going to have a critique, and just keep doing your thing. That's probably the biggest lesson that I had to learn right now. And the most challenging thing is just have a vision, stick to it, don't change too much. Even with the additional cards, that was kind of me bending a little bit, because I had the same cards asked over. I had Marie Laveau asked for 4 months. So I said, okay, fine, I'll do it. I wanted to make it, originally I wanted to do just voodoo. I wanted to do Haitian and Dominican voodoo. And primarily when I think about it, during the summer, there was that time where Dominican Republic and Haiti were kind of having that deportation episode. And that was what kind of brought me into that kind of frame of mind where I wanted to express just the whole island's shared culture of African voodoo. No matter what side, they share some of the same spirits, they share some of the same practices, and kind of just like we all have that same kind of African and indigenous ancestry, and let's just kind of celebrate it. And then when I brought it out to Afro-Caribbean, there's Spanish influence, there's Indian influence, there's European influences, and it's just the Caribbean and also Latin America is kind of this huge melting pot, which people don't really think. They think everyone's either Spanish or Portuguese or English, and it's not that easy or that simple. And lots of people practice different things, not always out in the open. There was also, during the summer, I was reading articles about, Candomblé and Mbanda, practitioners getting harassed by other different religious groups. And so I think because the summer was kind of there was so much tension in terms of religion and politics and race and everything. And I'm just kind of filtered that all into my mindset. How can I kind of have people see the beauty of different cultures and just using cards as a medium.
Awesome.
People ask me what's about tarot cards. The reason why I say it's art in your hands because that's what I consider it. That's reason why I grabbed the tarot card deck when I was a child. I said, oh wow, that's cool. There's 78 different pictures, and that's how I looked at it.
Yeah.
It wasn't so much a divination tool. It was art, and that's the reason why I collected so many decks because the artwork. It wasn't so much about which ones I could use. Some of them I couldn't use at all. But I mean, I still like the decks. I like to look at them.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I look like a part of the deck or half the deck. I use it for altar pieces.
Yeah, I do it when I'm teaching tarot. I do it for comparative work. I just did one of my today's videos was about the twos in tarot, and I show 5 different decks, and one of them's from a deck called the Wooden Tarot. Very different.
Oh, I saw that. That's on Kickstarter, right?
I think I know it's on Etsy. I don't know. I think she did do a Kickstarter. I missed the Kickstarter, but found it on Etsy, and it's a very cool deck. I can play with it easier than I thought. But let me go on because I try to keep these because I know you are so busy and I don't want to take up all your time. So what's the most rewarding thing that you do? Did I ask that already, or I said challenging first, right?
Challenging, but
rewarding. What's the most rewarding thing that you do?
I think last week I kind of got to a point that, everybody wants their Kickstarter to get funded and they want it to be successful, but just something in my head said, you know what, even if it doesn't get funded, it's out there. And so people ask about it. Even if I have to sell it myself, people will want to buy it. Mm-hmm. So this Kickstarter was, multiple things. It made me get out of my box. I hate doing Skype calls.
Well, thank you.
I hate doing interviews. I was like, I've never ever done this interview, which is funny because when I was doing the Psychic Showcase, and I was also in another group called Psychic Spectrum when I was in Seattle, I did all my readings live in front of 30, 50 people, but you can't see yourself. You won't be recorded on YouTube. Every night it's a different thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to look at yourself or hear yourself talk.
Well, you look good and you sound fine, Monroe. But I have the same feeling because I had to get over the fact that I always think I have ham face. Like my face is so fat it just sticks out like a ham. But you're doing great. So what is, the very last question I ask, what is one piece of advice you would give to somebody who also wanted to be a tarot creative? To just create a deck?
Talk to many different perspectives on tarot. Like I said, I was a reader before. I had no idea there were so many different types of perspectives on tarot. Some people treat tarot like it's like almost like astrology or palmistry. It's a science where they're very technical. They analyze everything in a tarot deck, and I just like, wow. I never thought about it because I'm mostly an intuitive reader. Get lots of different perspectives. I had to talk to people in the tarot community. I had to people in the ATR community. I had to talk to business people, marketers, crowdfunding, social media. There's so much that you need to kind of research, get perspectives on, find out what works, what doesn't work. I mean, even my first week of the campaign, I was changing stuff the first day. The first week was just kind of my experiment. Every day I changed the category just to see who would see it or where it ranked. And I also changed the picture every day just to keep it, looking different, and other people want to see different characters, so I just did that. But that's a lot of work. It's, contacting people is a lot of work. Just be prepared that it's, when people say, there's plenty of articles online saying, oh, it's a lot of work. It really is.
So be prepared to work.
Whether you do it on crowdfunding or trying to get a publisher, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of marketing. I have to go get headshots. It's a lot of things that you really wouldn't think of. You just think, oh, okay, I have this idea. I'm going to create this deck. Everyone's gonna love it, and the end. It's not like that. Designing it, and even getting it to the printer, negotiating with the printer, getting the printer to talk to you in the first place is an obstacle. I mean, it took them a couple of weeks just to talk to me, and I had to show them designs, and let them know that I had a Kickstarter campaign before they even take me seriously. Because there's lots of people who are like, oh, I just want to do my deck and that's it, and they don't take them seriously. They don't even give them a quote.
It's like writing a book. You can write a story, but then getting it published is a lot different. And then once it's published, you got to tell people about it.
Yeah, and then I also, I have to write the guidebook. I have an art book that's one of the rewards. That's a lot of writing, which, I have my bibliography is probably going to be multiple pages. It's so, because I'm, doing so many different culture groups, and, I have I have a whole section of tarot books, and I have a whole section of books on African religions and Indian, and it's a lot.
Yeah, well, I think that people are going to be really excited about it. I know I saw Cericia brag about it. I've seen some other people talk about it. So, and it's hard to do a Kickstarter deck right now because a lot of people are kind of worn out on Kickstarter and Indiegogo projects.
I noticed that was one of the first things. Like, a couple people when they saw it, they're like, "Oh, another Kickstarter," and I was like, "Wait!
Yeah,
the deck's done. Done."
And that's why I've been telling people about it because I think it's really unique and really unusual. So I'm hoping that this little interview will help people go out and look at it. And y'all, if you like the deck, even if you can't support it, share it. Tell your friends about it because you never know who can share it.
Wallpaper.
Yeah, the more people that hear about it, the better. Because Monroe is just under 100 supporters right now. It's like it's 76 or 77, I think. So.
Oh no, it's really weird because the tarot community has been involved in this process as I have. I mean, I've been doing all the work, but in terms of ideas, criticism, every bunch of characters I would upload it to the tarot professionals group. They get comments. I give the different groups. They would give their feedback. I like this. Oh, I'm not sure about this. You need to change this. It just needs to fit. I don't know if this will fit with this card. And that, I took all those different feedback from different groups, and it all went into this. Not just the tarot design, but the guidebook. Because like you said, when you're in the hermit, you're thinking about, okay, how will I use this deck, and how will this work for my clients? But you're not the only person in the world. You have to think about other, points of view, how they're going to look at it, different levels of tarot proficiency. So I tried to make it, like I said, with the colors and the different aspects of the suits, kind of more elemental view of the suits. I tried to make it kind of not gender neutral, but I wasn't expected, but when the different mythologies and stuff, it does. I did change gender on a couple characters in the Rider-Waite, and some like the world. It's androgynous, half man, half female deity. Because I don't really think God is a gender. So. The cat agrees with me.
Well, she's black and white, so she likes things that are split.
I have twins that I kind of remind. I just saw American Horror Story Freak Show where you have a different conjoined twins. I mean, that's very popular for we call them Marasa, and there's twins, there's triplets, there's quadruplets. But some of the different Haitian flags, you'll see them with the same body and multiple heads. So
nice.
It's not. I did it in an interesting way, but it comes from a very traditional point of place. So some people are just kind of, I put that 3-headed woman on the cover, and some people are like, "What's that?"
And I like that. When I review a deck, I tell people my opinion. I'm like, this could work if you think about these things. This, if you're looking for a traditional traditional, blah, blah, blah. But I like stuff that mixes up like that wooden tarot. It's just a fun deck. But Monroe, thank you so very much for giving me your time and for producing a beautiful, it's an amazing deck. The artwork is really pretty, and I love the colors because I like colorful things. So, and as always, seek joy and pass it on. Is there anything you'd like to say to everybody?
Pledge. No, no. You know, this is a very exciting journey that I'm on with this deck. I think with the limited edition deck, I'm only doing that for Kickstarter, and then I'll go into other decks from there where, you know, already people are like, I want you to do a whole Egyptian deck, like a new revamp of that, and I was like, oh boy.
Yeah, well, good.
Well, one thing at a time.
Thank you very much, and you have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Thanks. I'm Arwen of Tarot by Arwen, and this has been Monroe Singh of the Voodoo Caribbean Latino Tarot with Indian influences and other things, so y'all go check it out. Bye.
Bye.